Imagine living a life with a disorder that affects how you learn, focus, and understand the world. Imagine most people around you don't even know it exists. For many people, that's the reality of FASD. FASD stands for Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders. FASD is an umbrella term that encompasses the lifelong physical, mental, behavioral, and learning issues that come from alcohol exposure while in the womb. Today, it is the most common substance-causing birth defect that causes neurodevelopmental disorders. An article published in June of 2025 says that FASD has a prevalence of 3 to 10% in the United States. This is about 20.5 million people. These 20.5 million people equal the population of New York. Yet knowing this, FASD is still widely unknown and understood. When most people think of FASD, they think of distinct facial features, while in reality they are quite hidden. There is a thin upper lip, or a smooth philentrum, which is the ridges on your lip that are completely flat, or a short eye opening. Well, in addition to this, less than 10% of people with FASD have these facial features. This is just one of the other reasons why FASD is truly invisible. FASD has nearly 400 symptoms. In addition to this, 420 comorbidities. A comorbidity is a medical condition you have in addition to your original diagnosis. For example, anxiety is a common comorbidity of depression. The list of symptoms can seem really overwhelming. To break it down, there are 10 main brain domains that symptoms can fall under. The first one is academic achievement. People with FASD can struggle with having lower grades. They can struggle with understanding and comprehending all the things that they're learning in class. Next is attention. They can struggle with being able to stay on task, they can struggle with having a hard time not interrupting, and struggle with memory. Whenever I talk about the 10 brain domains, you'll hear memory pops up in a lot of these. The next one is cognition. This means that people with FASD can struggle with having speech impediments, they can struggle with their reasoning and judgment, and again, memory loss. The next one is language. People with FASD can struggle with having delayed speech, having a hard time understanding the words that are given to them, and having a hard time expressing their feelings. The next one is memory. They can struggle with having poor long-term memory and poor procedural memory. Your long-term memory takes place in your hippocampus, and your procedural memory takes place in your cerebellum. The next one is regulation. This means being able to emotionally regulate yourself, and so whenever you're emotionally regulating yourself, after you're getting really upset, it's the ability to calm down. Imagine going through your day-to-day after a stressful event and not being able to calm down. Or struggling with behavioral regulation. This means after doing a lot of exercise, being able to calm down and move on to your next event. The next one is executive functioning. People with FASD can struggle with the ability to plan ahead, to be organized, to not fall into those impulse choices, and they can struggle with problem solving. Executive functioning is a huge part of FASD. If you have symptoms in this section, you can have a hard time following a work schedule, being able to maintain a good, healthy amount of money from falling into impulse buying, and problem solving. The next one is motor skills. Motor skills that they can struggle with are their fine motor skills and gross motor skills. Your fine motor skills are your ability to tie your shoe, zip up your jacket, and have neat handwriting. Your gross motor skills are things like balancing, maybe being able to do a cartwheel or walk in a straight line. The next one is adaptive behavior. Symptoms can look like avoiding important tasks, or being extra aggressive, maybe repeating mistakes and not being able to learn from them. And lastly, having poor social skills. The last brain domain is your neuroanatomy and your neurophysiology. Your neuroanatomy and neurophysiology is where your brain, nerves, and spinal cord all work together to keep you as a functioning person. Sometimes whenever you have symptoms that fall under this category, your brain size and structure may be completely wired different. This also means that you may have not enough white matter connectivity. Not having enough white matter connectivity means that you can have motor dysfunctions, neurological deficits, and lastly, chronic conditions. Imagine just having symptoms fall into one of these categories. A lot of people with FASD have symptoms that fall into at least 5 of these categories. These lists of symptoms can seem extremely overwhelming. It's crazy to think that one neurological disorder can cause so many things, but symptoms are determined based on when alcohol is consumed. So for example, say alcohol is consumed at the 18th week of pregnancy. In the 18th week of pregnancy, a baby's hearing is starting to be developed. So this means that when alcohol is consumed, the baby's hearing is now most likely to be impacted. Since individual symptoms are based on timing and the amount of alcohol exposure, each case is different and unique to the individual. It's crazy to think that alcohol can cause all of these things. It still shocks me to this day. It's because when alcohol is consumed, it will pass through the placenta into the developing fetus. The toxic effects disrupt cell growth, major organ development, and their brain. The fetus processes alcohol much slower than the mother. So this means that the fetus has prolonged exposure to the toxic effects. When people hear about FASD for the first time, they put a lot of hate onto the mother. According to the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, 45% of women drink in the first trimester before even knowing that they're pregnant. Women may drink while they're pregnant due to not even knowing that they're pregnant yet, maybe struggling with addiction, trauma, or even just a general lack of understanding. Recent studies show that fathers also play a profound pivotal role in the development of FASD. A father's drinking habits can influence the vulnerability of the fetus to prenatal alcohol exposure. In most cases, fathers also play an important role in supporting the mothers to maintain healthy habits for the fetus. In the first trimester of pregnancy, things like the baby's heartbeat, brain and spinal cord, all their legs, arms, and fingers, and major organs are all being developed. If you're drinking in the first trimester of pregnancy, your baby is now 12 times more likely to have FASD. If you're drinking in the second trimester of pregnancy, your baby is going to start to move around. It's going to start to be able to hear your voice and understand that it's you. Your baby's going to have major organ development and major physical growth. If you're drinking in the second trimester, your baby is now 61 times more likely to have FASD. The third trimester includes major weight gain for the baby, major brain development, and all of its lung maturity. If you're drinking in the third trimester of pregnancy, your baby is now 65 times more likely to have FASD. Now, knowing this information, there is no safe amount of alcohol that can be consumed during pregnancy. If you're pregnant, some doctors even say that if you are sexually active at all, you should be abstaining from all alcohol. FASD does not only impact the individual with FASD, but it impacts the family and the caregivers as well. Raising a child with FASD can cost up to 9 times more than a neurotypical child. Due to the individuality of FASD, it's extremely hard to diagnose. According to an article of American Sociology Association, only a handful of FASD clinics even provide a full diagnosis. Diagnosis is a very long process that involves many references, many tests, and even a firm understanding of the family's background. Unfortunately, 86.5% of all individuals with FASD are either misdiagnosed or never even able to get a diagnosis. The individuals with FASD who are misdiagnosed often take inappropriate medications or receive unnecessary therapy. This will all make FASD worse. FASD can look like many different things. It has many overlapping symptoms. Looking here at this chart, in the yellow is all symptoms of FASD. The gray line right here is all checking off symptoms of FASD. In the blue and pink sections, it's autism and bipolar. When most people are misdiagnosed, they are misdiagnosed with these 2 neurological disorders. Unfortunately for the individual, this will be detrimental to their life. Imagine living your life misdiagnosed and misunderstood. In Canada, in 2005, it was estimated that the cost of one FASD screening can cost anywhere between $3,000 and $4,500 just per person. For just one single diagnosis, this can be a huge financial burden for many families. On top of this, it has been calculated that FASD healthcare can cost up to $2.5 million for one child with an extreme case of FASD. I'm now going to talk to you about a day in the life of this boy named Harold. He's 8 years old and he is struggling with FASD. To start off, Harold functions as if he's cognitively a 5-year-old boy, when in reality he's an 8-year-old boy. This is really hard for caregivers because in most ways he looks like a healthy 8-year-old boy. But that's just not the case. In the morning, he starts each day bright and early. As soon as he gets up, he takes medication for ADHD, which, like I said before, is a common comorbidity. After the morning, he follows the same routine. Each step is the same every single day. In order to ensure that he stays regulated and calm, he has to follow the same routine. Due to his major memory loss, he has a checklist that he can check off each of his chores to move on with the day. The mornings are a really stressful time for him. It leads up to a large transition that gets him ready for school. At school, they all work together at school, he has many accommodations. Some of these accommodations for him are eating in a quiet room at lunch or having a pair with him throughout the day. Harold's doing really well at school right now. One day he got a reward from the SRO that the SRO got to pick him up from school, and they went and got donuts. Harold said that this was the best day of his life. Harold struggles with a lot of social skills. He usually struggles with judgment and understanding if a person is appropriate to be around or if it's a good time to talk to somebody. At school, Harold does have many friends, and they all love him and all love being around him. But unfortunately, it has not always been this way. When Harold started kindergarten, the teachers and staff learned more about his version of FASD. They learned the accommodations that they needed to put in place for him. As the year went on, he started to progress a lot. They decided that at that time it was important for them to take away all his accommodations. Unfortunately for them, this was a fatal decision. Say you're teaching someone how to ride a bike. If you take away their training wheels too soon, they'll fail. This is exactly what it's like for someone with FASD. If you take away their accommodations, even at all, they will fail. Harold has had a lot of early childhood trauma. Unfortunately for him, this means when he's dysregulated or overstimulated, he becomes extremely violent. When all his accommodations were taken away, he was overstimulated and dysregulated all the time at school. There were many days where he had to have the classroom evacuated due to his violent behavior. As his accommodations were put back into place, Harold slowly began to start making progress at school again. When Harold gets home, he does all his chores. He follows the same set routine again, like he does every single day. He loves to play with shows and plays with cars. When it's time for dinner, he really struggles with eating his food. One day he threw his hands on the table and said, "I hate protein and I have no clue why I have to eat it." When it's time for bed, Harold really struggles with fighting his sleep. He usually just lays down with his weighted stuffed animals and then he'll finally fall asleep. Harold is genuinely a sweet and funny boy, but behind all of this, he struggles with FASD, and it will forever be a constant battle in his life. Now, here's Haddie. This is Harold's older sister. She's 9 years old. To start off, Haddie is extremely tiny for her age. She is in the less than 1 percentile of height and weight for her age. Haddie has been through a terrifying amount of trauma. The court decided that she was parentified at the age of 4, which means that she was in charge of her younger siblings. For her, this means that she naturally likes to be in charge. For her, this is a coping mechanism. Anytime Harold is in any form of distress, she's right at his side trying to take care of him. Though this may seem helpful, unfortunately for her, it's not. Haddie starts off her day extremely dysregulated. She takes ADHD medication just like Harold, but she also takes medication for epilepsy, which is also a comorbidity for her. For the past 3 years, Haddie has been seizure-free, but up until recently, she started having seizures again. For her, this is really frustrating. As a 9-year-old girl, she wants to go out and do fun things, but in reality, she needs to have a close eye on her. Due to her new medication, we have no clue when she's going to have a seizure, so it's important that we keep a close eye on her. At school, Haddie really struggles with keeping friends. Due to FASD, confabulation and dysmaturity is a huge issue in her life. Confabulation is where you fill in the blanks in your memory with stories that you make up. Unfortunately for her, this looks like lying. Whenever she fills in those blanks in the memory, she's completely convinced of those stories. For Haddie, like I said, in her age, she's extremely behind maturity-wise, and this isn't her fault. She really struggles with not interrupting and not blurting out. She's naturally very loud, and so this also doesn't help her. Unfortunately, in the friend department, she has a hard time keeping friends because nobody understands her, and she's really frustrated by that. She is right now really struggling in school academically. She doesn't understand that she has to put in a little extra work, and it's really frustrating to her. You could compare her memory to a light bulb. Her light bulb is like a light bulb that's going out. Some days it works and other days it's different, and you can never tell when that's going to happen. For her, this happens a lot in math. Most days she really struggles in understanding what's going on, and it's really frustrating. When Haddie gets home from school, she loves to color, do arts and crafts, and anything creative. She loves playing with her dolls. It's all a control. It all feels very safe to her because of the control she has. She loves all animals. She tries her best to care for all the pets at her house, but because she tries her best to care for all of our animals at our house. Back to what I said about epilepsy. Because she has epilepsy, she cannot be on any high surfaces by herself or be in any room alone with the door shut or locked. This really impacts her day. Right now in her room, she has this really cool loft bed, but she can't even sleep in it because she can't sleep on a high surface. She has to sleep in a bed below it. Haddie is extremely anxious. Any loud noise and anything unexpected really scares her. At dinner, she usually eats a good amount of food, but unfortunately for her, staying hydrated is a huge part of her life. For most kids, they don't like water, but for Haddie, it's very important. In order to ensure that she prevents seizures, she has to be hydrated at all times. Like I said before, she is extremely anxious. She usually is scared of the dark, and especially at night. So she usually fights sleep. But another thing that she can do to prevent her seizures is have enough sleep, and most nights she doesn't get that. FASD is a huge part of this girl's life. It impacts her relationships with everybody around her. It is a constant battle for her. As you can tell from these two separate stories, FASD can have similarities, but it can be drastically different. To help a child with FASD, you first need to be aware of FASD and everything that it involves. As you get to know their disease and be able to care for them more adequately as an individual. In the meantime, give them a little extra love and a little extra patience. I recently sent out a survey to all the teachers here at PHS. 38 of those teachers responded. 4 out of the 38 teachers said that they have never even heard of FASD before. 11 out of the 38 teachers said that they could adequately care for a student with FASD in their class. Unfortunately, the awareness of FASD is very small. Many teachers don't even have access to the support they need to give to their students. Why is it that awareness isn't there? At the beginning of my talk, I asked you to imagine how it would feel to be living with an invisible disease. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder may be invisible, but the challenges it holds are extremely real. The more we learn about it, talk about it, and understand it, the more we can support the people living with it. FASD awareness doesn't just mean changing conversations, it means changing lives.